Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land watching this incentive program for Antarctic Press titles. I am Monty Anderson, your host here at 412 Productions, the art of Monty Anderson, and welcome to the broadcast, everybody. Please like, share, and follow, and let your friends know if they are into Antarctic Press titles that this is another good one. This one's a little bit different than the last review I did, which was Tibby. Um, And whereas in Tibby there wasn't a whole lot of words and lettering going on, well, this is a manga book. In this manga book title, there's a lot of words going on. And as a manga book, you read it back to front. Okay. So you go from there. And this one is Antarctic Press, of course, their 40th anniversary as this year. And this is their manga, one of their manga titles, The Innkeeper. So here you go on that. Now, I'm not a manga guy, so I could care less about manga and all that stuff. Now, there's certain manga books that I would pick up out there that draw my attention and things of that nature, especially the darker, um, more bloodthirsty type of type mangas out there. Now, this one is not for me. I wouldn't put it in my collection, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't put it in your collection. As the synopsis says, a mysterious investigator arrives in the town of Sun Dweller hoping to uncover the source of a series of missing person cases with the unwilling help of a townie. Unwilling help. But not everything is as it seems in this happy little town, which has its other dark secrets. So, I'm just looking to make sure that I'm reading this the correct way. Because, again, how it printed out is one way, and how it reads is another way. So, I'm just making sure. I apologize for the opening right here. So, I'm just trying to make sure that everything is reading correctly. So you've got, if I'm reading it correctly as it printed out, then this is my opening page. Um, but I might have it wrong. I might be reading it the correct way and how it opens up. Again, it's hard to tell because in manga you read a book one way, and a comic book you read it another way. So again, I apologize for the opening sequence here, as I'm a little confused. And I want to make sure I get this right for you guys because I'm pretty sure it printed out the correct way. And I might have to open up the actual PDF document here real fast just to look at it, just to make sure that we have everything in the proper order. So let me do that real fast as I'm talking to you guys right here. Um, boom. So yeah, I apologize because whenever you're reading manga, it is a very interesting way to read it. You read it one way, and where's the Innkeeper? Da, da, da. Where'd you go? Case notes. There it is. Okay. So we're gonna get to the bottom of this and see how it reads. Again, I apologize to you guys for this one being a little bit more long and drawn out because I want to make sure I get it right before we start going into it. But you still have the synopsis. Woman shows up trying to investigate missing person case, and I want to make sure that we do read this right. There is no opening sequence of who does the artwork and all that good stuff in here that I've seen. I'm not even seeing a little title page in here unless it missed it throughout this book. It is a 30 something page book, I think, maybe a little bit less. And it's pulling it up. So I apologize on that note. The rest of the reviews will not go like this, I promise. But no. Here we go. This is a 32 page book. Kick it back all the way up to the beginning. And then let's see what the opening page is on page 2. Okay. So that's how it goes. And the very last page, of course, is the one that I was looking at as the first page. Okay. So, yeah, it's kind of weird that there is no pages in here that show me who the writers and the artists are and things of that nature. I do not see that page in here at all. There isn't even a name on who does the artwork on the front page. So, okay. So we are reading it correctly from front to back. So I apologize again. But there's a lot of verbiage in this one. A lot of stuff going on. It's your typical manga comic book right here. As you can see, the manga style faces and all that good stuff, which is very different than a regular comic book. Now, they did bring the manga universe over to the comics for a while, just like Ben Dunn was talking about with the Marvel manga that they did for a while. They did it for possibly a year or so. I don't know what happened to it or why they ended it, but a lot of people liked it. Even Ben Dunn liked it. I think he did some work for Marvel at that point in time as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he could have. So, there is a lot of, again, verbiage happening. I mean, even on the front page, there's words everywhere. I'm not going to read you this whole book, but just know that, you know, they've got an innkeeper. They're at a town of the town that I told you that they were in. She tries to make it a safe place, and she can't ensure that. So, you know, people are angry and things like that, trying to get food. She's hearing little rumors in the distance and things like that. She's overhearing them talking about one of the writers from town, Mr. Phillip, and she interrupts the table as they're talking. And now she finds out that Philip is gone. He's no longer there. He's an author, but they can't find him. And then pretty soon, this character comes in, Red Riding Hood esque, right here. And she sees him enter her domicile, Mayan is her name, and she is the owner of the inn. The one that looked like Red Riding Hood is called Nero. I'm here to investigate the cultural diversity and famous places and towns. Everybody's shocked. Our humble town? Our town? And so everybody's chatting her up in this book as she is trying to get to the bottom of things. She's the strange investigator that shows up in the town. She's Mayan is wanting to keep an eye on her. She can't let her wander the town alone, as states. Again, typical manga comic book. Very good stuff for those of you that like manga. Me, I'm not a manga guy, so this wouldn't be something I would buy for myself. It's not dark enough, if you will. Again, I'm not going to read you the whole thing like we did with Tibby because there wasn't a whole lot to read. So the rain has stopped. They're checking out the town. They are going from spot to spot, trying to figure out, the different things happening in town of why so many people have disappeared here recently. They're talking about different spots that Philip has visited for his writing as they are wandering the town. There's a spot that he liked to visit, apparently the library, um, where he would get inspiration. And apparently, uh, this stranger that has arrived to town says it's mostly empty, and that's because the townsfolk are too busy to visit it. So people don't go to the library. Kind of like now, most people don't go to the library. You got the internet. Why go to the library? So she is going from book to book, spot to spot, checking out all these different books that he might have read from the catalog that they looked up. And she's reading books, taking notes as she's going along. So that she's got a map laid out. Mayan does, from Nero. Nero is the stranger. Mayan is the townie. And Mayan's wondering if her presence with this stranger is boring to her. And she says, no, that's not the problem. And she's like, sigh, I think I have a confession to make. I told you I'm here to see the town, but that's not the whole truth. I'm actually here to investigate something else. However, I have to reveal it now since things aren't going as planned. Oh wow. I had no idea. it wouldn't be a shame if you told me that earlier. I'm simply upset by my failure. No offense taken. Um She's telling her that you see, as humans, we discover who we are through both failure and success. Some things simply aren't meant for us, no matter how much we deserve them. Just let them go and move on to what's next. So that's what's happening on this panel and these pages. Excuse me. I see your point, but that's exactly what I'm trying to avoid. So she goes into this long, drawn out story of long ago. I was someone with nothing to offer this world. To them, I was just someone who existed for the sake of existing as a child. I just can't accept a fate chosen for me. I wish to be different from what I meant Haven't you ever felt that way, Mayan? I'm not sure. A few days ago, I finally had the opportunity I'd been waiting for. Shortly after I opened my bureau, I was sent an anonymous letter. Many stories were written about this town almost as if they were taboo. But one in particular stood out to me. It contained details about a priestess and a peculiar death that had been arranged for her. And Mayan's carrying an axe for whatever reason now. Right here. Wait, a letter? That doesn't sound right. To an outsider from the city? Let's forget about it and enjoy the trip. I'm sure you won't. And she was going to say regret there, but it's cut off. A few hundred years ago, the town had two god twins, but one of them was killed, consumed with sorrow and grief. The remaining god wore their sibling's face. And then it goes on about that. Mayan is trembling in the background. I asked the townsfolk similar questions, but they only shared the well known parts of the story. I visited the library and found the oldest books, yet they felt incomplete. I went to where the rituals were performed, right here, but still nothing. A cursed custom that no one remembers. The god, with two faces, only took twins as sacrifices to replace his own sibling. Is this why you hid that part of the ritual? Yet you kept the curse out in the open, eliminated your own mother, and took her place as the priestess to protect your brothers. Now that I know your secret, will you kill me like the others? I do not know if you agree, but I feel like this letter wasn't meant for me. And she's got the axe getting ready to take her out in the background. Thud, she drops the axe. It's very interesting. You came here just because of a baseless letter and no real proof. Isn't it honorable taking the bait and diving into adventure? You think so? Sure, I do. Maybe the person who wrote this knew you needed that push too. Then I shall be thankful to them. Chuckles. For someone who has nothing to offer, you are pretty nice. Oh, thank you. You are welcome, my lady. So, instead of taking her out in this story, and I don't know if this is a continuation of a story or not. Now they're back at the inn. They're eating. You got rabbits on a shelf for some reason. They're talking. They're hashing things out. They're talking about farewell. Talking about their mother's belief. A simple reminder to the town. I'll play the cook for them until there's no trace left of those vermin who deserve to be on the plate. It's what I did for this town out of a sense of duty and love. Sigh. But that guy, he kept his promise in the most twisted way possible. So Philip has disappeared, and I think she's the reason why. And she is seeing off the strange passenger that arrived, Nero. But as she gets into her spot, the priestess? Hi. What do you mean, hi? She's in her train section. So she's gonna keep an eye on her, is what she says at the end. So she's kind of surprised, she's a little miffed that the priestess is with her. And they're continuing on the story as the train rattles on. I'll use her. Next time, don't overshare things with strangers. Oh, I'll have to train her too. And that's how the story ends. Again, this isn't something I would put in my collection, but this might be something that might be up your alley. The Innkeeper, it doesn't give me a like a if this is book one or if this is a one shot or anything like that. It doesn't even give me who wrote the book, who did the artwork, who did the lettering. You know, it gives me nothing as far as title page and all that good stuff like you would normally see in a comic book. So I don't know who wrote this. I don't know who drew it. You know, I don't know if it's one and the same. All that good stuff. But this is a good story. I give it one thumbs up from my perspective, just because I'm not a big manga guy, and so this one, there's a lot of twists and turns in here that you kind of saw coming uh, as things progressed. But you know, again, not something that I would put in my repertoire of comics all the way around. But again, this might be something that's more up your alley than it is mine. So if you are into the Innkeeper and manga titles, and you just like manga titles in general, this would be one for you. And go out there and get it. I don't know if it's out there yet. Again, I do not have any title pages, any spots telling me when this book was made, if it was a 2025 book, if it was a 2024, 23, 22, you know, anything like that. Again, no information throughout here whatsoever, but um, that would be something I would change for this book. But there you go. The Innkeeper right there. That is my review. One thumbs up on it because it's not something that I would take home and have in my collection. But thank you for all for watching, and please like, share, and follow, as we talked about with Tibby the last time. We want those followers, you know, and we try to do an honest review. Again, we don't like everything that Antarctic Press puts out, um, and you know, I've given some thumbs down on some stories that they've got. But without further ado, as I like to say, as I leave you guys, we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody.